And we'll just all introduce ourselves. We do have a few people on the line today. My name is Rihanna Putnam, and I'm the Community Engagement Specialist for the Citizen Science Association. We're joined today by Allison Kaywood, who is our program chair for the CitSciVirtual event, and is amazing. We couldn't do this event series without her. We also have two of our three great our poster committee co-chairs. We have Maria and Abigail, and they'll be able to introduce themselves. We also have our event coordinator, Liv Vega, on the line today. So just a brief overview of some of the topics we'll be covering. We'll kind of give a general overview of what the CitSciVirtual event will look like, so you can have a better feel for that. We'll go into the e-poster components, and we'll do a demo of what these will look like in our event platform. We'll talk about why you would want to submit a poster and give you some taste of what different poster topics might look like. Go over what it's going to look like in general to submit a poster, some of the different interactive components that we have, and submission guidelines. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Allison Kaywood to give us an overview of the event.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. So we are really excited to have you join us as part of this new trial, this new project, as we take the Citizen Science Conference in 2021 to be completely virtual. While this was not what we had initially planned, we are really excited because it opens up some really great opportunities to share work with more people, to engage more people in the work, and to present work in ways that wouldn't be possible if you were doing it in person. So we're really excited to see the creative and interesting ways that people have to share their work, and hopefully they'll be able to have audiences that are beyond who we would have expected to show up in person in Arizona. So thank you all very much for your interest, and I'm so excited to see your submissions as they start to come in. So the overall goals of the conference are, we wanted to take the best of what would happen in an in-person space and try to keep the parts that would work well in a virtual space and get rid of the ones that aren't going to work as well. So we're not going to have lots of sitting and listening to people talk, because we all look at Zoom all day long and we don't need extra of that. So it's going to be really a focus on interaction, a focus on learning from each other, and a focus on kind of building a stronger sense of community within all the different groups that make up citizen science. As part of that, we're really interested in promoting ideas of diversity, equity, and inclusion and accessibility in citizen science. And that is one of the really strong things that working in a virtual space allows us to do. There are things that we can do with accessibility and inclusivity that would be much more challenging to do if we were relying on everyone to come in person. So that's part of why we're asking you to think about things. We know that's different for some people, and that's not something you've been asked to do before, but we're hoping that it'll be a first step in moving the whole community to be a more inclusive, welcoming, and accessible community. So with that, I want to say thank you so much to Abigail and Maria, and Thomas, who's not here with us at the moment, but who have done such an amazing job of leading up the poster subcommittee. And I'm going to let them tell you a little bit about what they're seeing and how this is actually going to look. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Allison, for the introduction. So first off, we want to say that the citizen science community is known for its ingenuity and determination. These qualities are on display as the organization and its members prepare to stage this innovative and online conference in May of 2021. One of those centerpieces is the online posters, and we're presenting it in a way that encourages interactions among authors and the audience. The goal in mind of this conference is to encourage the poster submissions from all parts of the high diverse citizen science community, and according to CSA, it seeks contributions that do not necessarily fit the mold of posters at an academic gathering. You should all feel free to express yourselves as you would with your own coworkers. Of course, if you're not an academic researcher, your work is also welcome, and it's likely that you've presented before and you will be comfortable with this format from your own living room. But again, if you're not an academic researcher or you're here as a first-time poster presenter, please be assured that CSA highly encourages your contribution. We are working to keep things simple and will provide you with the assistance along the way should you need it. The CSA is also using a software platform known as Mighty Network that Rihanna will give you a nice highlight through. That is a super, that doesn't require supercomputers or extensive bandwidth to use. And so over the next few minutes, we're actually going to walk through bits and pieces of the posters. And so for starters, Maria is actually going to introduce exactly an e-poster. So Rihanna, keep on this slide. So Maria.
Hi all, good evening from the UK. My name is Maria. I am a lecturer at the Open University and I am one of the 3 co-chairs of the poster committee. So in this brief presentation, we will touch on 4 things. The first is to define what an e-poster is, and then to talk about the audio and video supplements to the e-posters. And then to define what the live collaborative session is, and finally to present the guidelines for submitting. So to start with, an e-poster is an electronic version of the traditional poster, as you all know it. But instead of being printed, you're using like a very small user-friendly environment instead of putting it on a wall. So the design of the poster is really up to you. You can make it as simple as you can or as rich as you want. So what you can do is that you can use a header, short paragraphs, a few graphs or pictures. Some others may want to be more elaborative and make the poster more interactive and in a way that encourages like a longer period of time with people looking at the poster, at their poster, and making it more engaging. So for example, we have a poster here and it's about the environmental science learning through Zooniverse. And we can see this is a very simple poster. So I mean, if you don't feel confident, it's fine if you present us with something simple. You can go like through all the things you want to highlight, and especially the background of your work or of your research, your aim and the research questions, the settings of your study, and finally highlight your findings, results, and the conclusions you had from your research and your reflections on your findings. So this is more or less like a conventional poster, but you can indeed make it a bit more dynamic. Abigail, Rihanna, could you please move on to the next slide? So what you can do is that you can pair this poster with an audio or video recording. And think of this as a guided tour of your poster, or possibly like a general presentation that you might have done during a conference. So the purpose of the audio and video is to engage with the audience a bit more. If you're looking for your presentation to stand out and captivate your audience, you can also use like video supplements and any other visual ways, like it depends on what your research is about. You can use pictures or graphs or diagrams or whatever you feel it fits better with your work. So, I mean, you can also use a PowerPoint and add many of these things that we just mentioned in the PowerPoint, both an audio and video and pictures, everything that you can make your research a bit more engaging and try to capture as much as you can from what you did. So finally, all of these will be hosted on Mighty Network. And Rihanna will explain a bit more later what the Mighty Network is, because it's actually the platform that will host the entire conference, and it will be the place where people will be collaborating and talking about their posters. So Abigail, would you like to talk a bit about the collaborative sessions?
I'm actually going to pass it to Rihanna first to introduce what it looks like online, and then we can talk a little bit more about what is expected with the collaborative sessions, so they all can get a preview of it.
Yeah, thank you, Maria and Allison and Abigail. Give me just a second to pull that up. And I have been seeing a few questions come through. If you feel like using the Q&A tool, we can better keep track of them. I've seen a couple in the chat box, which is great. We will definitely look for them there, but if you wouldn't mind putting them in the Q&A tool to make it a little easier for us to find them. Okay, give me just a second. So Mighty Network is going to be CSA's new member platform. It's a community platform and an event platform all rolled into one, and we're really excited about the opportunities for this event series for using Mighty Network, because you can really have some engaging conversations and make lasting connections beyond the event itself. And so your posters will be uploaded as an article in a poster group in the Mighty Network. When somebody comes into the Mighty Network space as an event attendee, they'll see in their home feed a link to or an article about a poster. And so this is going to be the poster that we're going to talk through. This is one that our CSA's Executive Director, Jennifer Shirk, did a number of years ago. It was a more traditional poster format, and so you can kind of get a sense for how that might fit into this platform, but also we encourage you to think creatively about how this new format and this new platform can encourage different ways of presenting your material to make it really engaging for folks. So you'll see a snapshot of your poster. We'll have everybody put a title in, and so the title of the article will be the title of your poster. Then you'll add the authors, and we'll go into this a little bit bigger. And so you can add your authors. What's great about Mighty Network is that it's all connected, and so each person who is in the event and who is a member of CSA, you can tag them. And so you can see here that Jennifer is already in our Mighty Network, and so we were able to do @Jennifer Shirk, and then it links to her profile. And so if I were to click on this, it would take me to a page that has her profile. You can send her a direct message, you can get in contact with her that way. So it's a great way for attendees to be able to directly interface with authors. There's also other ways I'll show you that attendees can ask questions and you can provide feedback in a more public way, but it is a nice way to kind of make connections beyond just the poster itself. So you can see here, there's an abstract. We'll have everybody write a short summary. We do want to keep these short, given that people will have a lot to read through. And so just try to keep them short and catchy in a virtual setting. We've been finding that you really need to really catch people really quickly because people are going to be skimming. It's just a different environment than if you're casually walking through a in-person poster session where you might have a little bit more time to engage. So this was we're calling these the thumbnail image. It's just a zoomed in screenshot of part of her poster. You can create your own thumbnail image that is just a representation of what the whole poster will be about. That's less text, more graphics, something that's going to be catchy when people are scrolling through that homepage in that poster group that has a lot of posters on it. So try to think of what is going to be the most compelling and engaging things and the most compelling graphic that you can put to try to catch people's attention. Here we can see what the whole poster will look like. And so this is a more traditional poster. It has a lot of text. Probably in person, this was a really great balance of text to images, and I still think it's a really eye-catching poster, but it can be hard to read in this platform. As you can see, the text is kind of small. And so we do need to think creatively about how to have larger text and to make sure that it's readable in a virtual format. And so this is something that we'll be encouraging you to think about, to test out, and we will be providing some guidance on how to do that. We'll have how-to webinars, some PDF documents, some open office hours. So we'll be giving you lots of support on how to do this. If it feels new to present a poster in this format, we will have some guidance on it, but just wanted to get your wheels turning about some of the different things that you might be able to do.
Brianna, there was a question about like formatting within some of these things, the abstracts, like if you'll be able to bold or underline some of the like key terms.
Yeah, and the great thing about this Mighty Network platform is that it's very user-friendly. And so when we do the webinars in the spring for all of the accepted posters, we'll walk you through how to do all of that in the Mighty Network. But it's a very user-friendly interface where when you're uploading all of your components, you'll have freedom to add section headings and dividing lines and bold and underlines, italics, all of those things. Great question. And so since this is a little hard to read in the browser, we also are encouraging folks to link to a higher resolution file. And so you can see here, you can click on the higher resolution PDF and it takes it a lot bigger, makes it easier to see. You can zoom in easier. And so we are trying to give people the opportunity, if they do want to do a more traditional format, that you can link to the higher quality, higher resolution image where people can do the zooming and be able to catch all of that text. We're also having folks ask kind of a discussion prompt at the end. And then what's great about Mighty Network, again, it'll link you to whoever did the post here. And so you can see Jennifer's info, you can say hello, you can follow her. So that way, after the conference or during the conference, if she's sharing other things, if you're really interested in this work, you can follow along with other things that she's posting. And then there's also this discussion feed at the end. So you can ask a question, you can cheer or give a heart to the posters that you like. I think that that's one feature that we will be using, and you can give feedback. And so there's a question, you can directly reply, you can tag people in your comments if there's multiple authors. And so there's lots of opportunities for engagement with the poster in this virtual space. And so even though many of the components of the poster will be asynchronous, there'll still be opportunities for that kind of back and forth that you would have in an in-person event. So there are two other components that we don't see in Jennifer's poster here. And so I'm going to scroll to one that I did as a demo. This is clearly not real text and not a citizen science poster. This is a poster that my partner did for a wildlife conference a few years ago. But you can see it's very graphic heavy. The text is a little small in this setting. And so we could think about like maybe this would make a nice thumbnail with some text. And you might want to play with the text size to make sure that it's readable. Again, there's the PDF that you can download. And then this, I pulled this up to show you that you can upload a short video where you walk through your poster components. You will upload that to YouTube or Vimeo. Again, these are things that we'll go through in detail on future webinars. And then you'll just copy a link to who you're recording in here. And then it just shows up as something you can quickly click on and walk and watch that. The other component of the posters will be collaborative poster sessions, which Abigail will talk a little bit more about in just a minute, but we'll link directly to the event and folks can click on the connection details for the collaborative sessions. They can sign up, add this to their calendar. They can message the other attendees the same way that you would be able to message on a poster itself. And this will have more event details and things, but this is just to see that they do all link back and forth together. And so the main takeaways for the Mighty Network platform is that there are lots of opportunities for engagement in a way that you would have in an in-person event, or I guess in different ways, but we're trying to, again, take the best components of the in-person conferences and put them in this virtual setting. We really do emphasize you to think about engagement in this virtual setting and maybe think creatively about how you're formatting your poster and who your audience might be. And then I think Abigail will touch a little bit on some of the components, but one thing I did want to highlight is that presenters will be responsible for uploading all of their materials into the Mighty Network, and presenters will also be responsible for recording their own audio. And we'll provide you lots of guidelines, how-to guides, webinars, and office hours, but the creation of all of those materials will be on you. And so with that,
I know that you're putting together like I know that the group's putting together a fact sheet and things, but there's a question about if there are file formats that are like that are supported in Mighty Network and sizes of files? Do you know anything about that?
Yes, there are some file size restrictions. They support PDFs, JPEGs, PNGs, all of the kind of common file formats. And then for video, you can't upload an MP4 file directly. So if you record yourself on Zoom, which is what probably most people will do, you will have to upload that to either YouTube or Vimeo and then put the link. And so we'll provide instructions on that later. But yes, there are some restrictions, and we will be sure to share those ahead of time. So that way, once your poster is accepted, we'll have a whole list of guidelines on those kinds of details that we'll be able to share.
Sweet. So just for you guys to recognize that the Mighty Network platform is meant to encourage engagement over all different time zones. So you have a Q&A button that you're allowed to talk to and from with all different people. So that's where we hope to get more interaction of audience around the world and then increase more engagement as we go. The other way that we're increasing engagement is called this collaborative session. And so in addition to posters, there's this moderated session that submitters can opt in to join. So throughout the month of May, we're going to host these sessions that connect participants in a fresh way that allow you guys to learn, share, and connect virtually with others. We are going to group you guys into smaller posters, hopefully around 10, depending on how many people we get, and the different topics will actually trickle out as we go when we actually get all of the submissions come the end of the deadline when it comes. And so what we're hoping with these sessions is more where you guys will have a conversation around certain topics. The moderator will actually have a few questions at hand, but it's meant to encourage meaningful connections with the conference community, both the posters, presenters, as meaning you're not going to actually present your real posters. There's no one-on-one presenting or 1 to 10 presenters. You are there to actually have conversations with each other. It's meant to accelerate and maximize the impact of an online virtual platform while you're also still getting the benefits of conversing with different people. And so we thought that having these kind of weekly themed topic collaborative sessions, you'll have the opportunity to meet with other people and expand on your research or get new ideas from other people. And so these are still kind of up in the air of like how often it will be put on, but note that if you do click in the submission portal that you do want to join this, we're definitely going to put you on one. If you opt out, but you're still wanting to opt in later on, if you have that comfort and you want to engage, we encourage you to, but please just send us an email, the Citizen Science for the subcommittee email, when you feel comfortable with that. So that's all I have for the collaborative session. But if you go to the next slide, what we really want to hit home is that we want as many submissions as possible. So the poster session is meant to be a touchstone as a start to a conversation. We encourage you guys to share ideas and invite other people to come view your poster or ask other people questions on their posters so we can continue this global scale of a collaborative conference. And so if you have some sort of research that you want to share and it's involved somewhat to a citizen science based area, we would love for you to submit. There is a, when you go to the portal, so if you go to the next slide, there's a few bits and pieces that we want you to pay attention to. The biggest thing is the summary paragraph. This is commonly known as an abstract, but we want this to be more encouraging and more inclusive to everybody. So it's not meant to be built for a researcher only, an academic researcher. We want anyone and everyone to feel comfortable submitting. We want it to be short and concise, meaning no more than 150 words, but we give you the freedom. That's a pretty fair large paragraph to fill in all your details. But we also have this option where you can submit in your native tongue as well, or native language. And if we have enough people who actually are submitting in one language, we actually are looking into a possibility of having other sessions for you guys. So please keep that in mind, that your English language is not really needed to, it won't inhibit you from having a poster. There are a few other things. One is to identify those keywords. So we're looking for 2 or 3 different keywords. If you are unsure of what a keyword is, there's a few examples that are actually on the submission, but this is just kind of highlighting what exactly you're targeting in your research. There's also 2 questions that are helpful for the poster session committee members when we're actually breaking you guys out into these collaborative session groups. And so please identify 2 of the pre-existing lists that are in there. Please categorize your poster based off of what you know and you're comfortable with. The other thing that we want you guys to be aware of that Allison had talked about in the beginning was this idea of diversity, equity, and inclusion and accessibility. We do want this to be a broad landscape of things, and we want to have and encourage people to think more about what they're doing with their work and how does their work affect other people or meet the needs of certain people. And so we want to keep this in the back of your mind. There's one question at the end. It's not meant to throw you for a loop. It's just meant to be there to keep you aware or conscious of what we're hoping to do with this Citizen Science Virtual Conference. So then on the next slide, we have one more final thing to take home. First thing is the deadline is January 3rd, 2021. This is set in Pacific Standard Time at 11:59 p.m. So please keep in mind that it is there, but we may or may not have something forthcoming. I'll keep you in mind. You'll see the rollout potentially. The portal is a Google form, so make sure that you have a Google account. If you have a Google account, you also can edit your submission all the way up to the deadline. And so as long as you have your Google form or your Google address, you can always log back into the portal and change it as accordingly needed. And then if anything else happens and you need some answer immediately, please contact us. Maria, Thomas, and myself are always kind of on call, but we also will be hosting probably 1 or 2 different office hours as well for people if they didn't get to meet us here, ask questions here, or if they have other concerns along the way before the submission actually happens or closes. So with that, I think we're going to open up the floor to some questions potentially, if we haven't already answered all of the questions.
I'm going to stop my share. I'll be sure to share the email address in the chat so you can copy it, and then also a link to the CitSciVirtual posters webpage. But I just wanted to be able to see the questions because I'm not sure if I had it turned on. Oh, good. It looks like everybody was able to see responses. Sometimes Zoom turns that off for me. So there was a question about time zones that Allison answered in the chat, but I just wanted to do that verbally as well. We will try to accommodate as much time zone variation as possible, but because most of the poster components are going to be asynchronous, there will be lots of opportunities for you to engage at your own leisure. So your short video will be uploaded and your poster components, and so people will be able to access those and ask you questions of those. It will be that collaborative session and some of the other live sessions that will mostly be in the afternoons, East Coast time. So we are a North American centric organization, recognizing that we do have a global base, but our time zones will kind of fall in the afternoon Eastern time in the US. Allison, were there any other kind of big questions that you think might be nice to highlight verbally before we end here for folks that might be watching the recording and didn't get a chance to read the questions? We are going to try to prepare a FAQ list and we'll upload that to the website. And so if there are questions that weren't answered in this, if you want to check there first, and then if you don't see your question answered, and then feel free to reach out to the poster email address and one of the co-chairs will get back with you.
Yeah, I don't think there were any other overarching questions. Well, there's a new one I haven't read yet.
Sure. I do see a couple of questions about participation fees. We will require that all accepted posters register for the conference, but there won't be any additional fees to present. It'll just be the conference registration, which we should be able to release information on registration fees soon in the next month or so. So you can stay tuned for that. But we are at time, and I did want to keep this short, and so I really appreciate everybody being on today. Thank you so much to our poster subcommittee co-chairs and Allison and Liv for being on. If you have any questions, I will post a couple of links in the chat right now, and you can email us or follow up that way. Great, thanks everyone.